Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time, still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm also watching Stargate SG-1 for the 47th time. But this is the first time that I am going through the series looking for those sci-fi messages. You know, those messages that hold up a mirror to society, show us how to be better to each other, or maybe even just give us hope that things are going to be better in the future.
Something's a little different this week, Brent.
It is. We are doing something a little different. And by a little, I mean, like 3,000 miles.
Give or
take. Is it
take.
really 3,000 miles?
Give or take, yeah.
You see, my good friend Jeff here decided to get on a plane this week, fly 3,000 miles, kitty corner across the country from Oregon all the way down to Florida.
Right.
Like, that's a and you're here hanging out for the next bunch of days.
Yeah.
And maybe we're going to knock out a few of these in a row.
We're going to do this. We're going to do some cool Florida stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time. We're going to watch some Stargate, probably watch some Babylon 5. Those are the things that we do.
I would like to watch some Babylon 5, although that particular show, like,
It's a little
more intense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think I need all of my monitors.
Yeah, because we're a little like
It's quite cramped.
cramped.
Yeah, so things are going to look a little different, as you can tell, and sound a little different as well. In fact, if you're not watching this right now, you really probably should, because this looks kind of cool.
Yeah, and if you're just listening to the audio podcast, that's awesome. Finish listening and give us a rating, give us a review on whatever podcatcher you're watching or listening to us from. And then after that, go over to YouTube or Patreon, and you can actually watch all the shenanigans. You can see the behind the scenes stuff. You can see all the parts that, you can see where Jeff just screwed the whole thing up and had to start over.
We've had a lot of mess ups on this one already.
Yes.
It's been pretty epic. All right. We've set the stage.
Yep.
People know what's up.
Yep.
We're here to watch Fire and Water. Last week, I didn't even bother to make a prediction because, like, there's fire and there's water. Like, that's what you got. So why don't you tell us about this episode?
Yeah. So this is episode 13 of season 1, Fire and Water, as you said. Original air date, October 17th, 1997. So they didn't take a break this month. And literally 16 years ago today. No,
26.
26 years ago today.
Wild.
Wow.
That's wild.
Wow. You guys are doing the math on exactly when today is that we're recording this.
Yeah. Just so you know, like, this is.
Yeah. That's now, Jeff, this episode is written by one Catherine Powers.
We've heard that name before.
We have. Do you remember where?
Emancipation. I remember her in Emancipation.
That's right. She brought us such hits like Deep Space Nine's Past Prologue.
Oh, wow.
And TNG's Code of Honor.
Yeah.
And SG-1's Emancipation. Now, before you write off this episode, knowing that history, she also brought us Brief Candle.
Really?
And Thor's Hammer.
Wow.
Yeah. She's going to write a bit of Stargate.
Okay.
And some really good episodes. I'll leave it to you to decide if this one falls into the really good episode category or the Emancipation category. But just open your mind. Don't shut it off just because of that.
I'll keep Emancipation, Code of Honor over here.
Yeah.
Just
decide where you want Fire and Water to go at the end. So with that, Jeff, that's all I got. Let's go ahead and jump into this episode, Fire and Water. Now, if you're just joining us for the very first time, here's how this is going to work. Jeff and I are going to watch the episode together right now. If you're watching us on YouTube or Patreon, you're going to catch the reaction. We're going to cut this up and we're going to have a big reaction video because that's a part of what we do here.
Yep.
And if you guys want to know exactly where to get that, you can catch the full unedited reaction, as I said, over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/Babylon5 first.
If you are listening to this on an audio podcast, like Brent said earlier, thank you. That's awesome. Don't forget to leave that rating and review. But also know that in a second, you're going to hear like a whoosh and then another whoosh, and we will have already watched the episode. We're going to watch the whole thing. When we come back, I'm going to share my for the first time reactions. And after that, Brent's going to lay on us any of the sci-fi messages that he has picked up in his first 47th view.
Chevron 7 locked.
Well, it's a normal day at the SGC when the klaxons begin to blare. The gate opens. It's SG-1, A very soaked and stunned Jack, Sam, and Teal'c all emerge. Daniel is dead. The team is in shock. They keep seeing Daniel's death over and over again. He's been burned alive while they only managed to escape by diving into the ocean. But things like this happen. This is the ugly truth of gate travel. Each time you step through that gate, you take your life into your own hands. Daniel receives an SGC-style funeral. After all, he has no family, and he's already supposed to be dead, and it's not like they can tell anyone how he died anyway. A wreath is sent through the gate on his behalf, similar to burying a body at sea or in space, except they don't have the body. In fact, the mere mention of returning to the planet to retrieve his body sends the rest of SG-1 into a unified protest of no! That was weird. But there's still this little matter of closing up Daniel's apartment and going through his things. General Hammond assigns SG-1 to do it. They're not fit for gate travel, and perhaps this will help them in their grieving process. While all of that is happening, back on the planet where they came from, it turns out Daniel Jackson is very much alive. He's being kept there by a weird fish-looking alien who is trying to communicate with Daniel, but clearly they don't speak the same language. He wants to know what happened to Omoroka. Daniel has no idea, but the alien says he's lying. He thinks Daniel is a Goa'uld, and he wants to know what happened to his mate, what happened to his Omoroka. Daniel thinks for a little bit. There's some cuneiform writing, and that looks like that might be a clue. And there's also some ancient Babylonian texts that refer to an Omoroka. Maybe that's her, but it's no use. Daniel can't remember what that one passage in that one book that he read all those years ago for that one class said. Daniel relates to the guy, though. The Goa'uld took his wife, too. As their relationship goes from adversarial to kinship, Daniel agrees to undergo a memory reading to see if they can find out what that book said. And it works. Turns out that Omoroka was killed by the god/Goa'uld Belus. Having learned her fate, the fish guy is satisfied and he agrees to let Daniel go. Maybe one day their races can become allies. Perhaps one day Daniel will find out what happened to his Sharae. The timing here is absolutely amazing because while all of that was happening, back on Earth, the rest of SG-1 figures out that they've had their minds messed with and maybe Daniel isn't dead after all. So they all happen to return to the planet just as Daniel is emerging from the water, and they can all go home safely. All right, Jeff, so you've just watched Fire and Water for the very first time. Didn't quite come out to your expectations because you didn't have any.
None.
Your predictions. Take us through it. What's your thought?
I came in with beginner's mind, which is the best mind to have. It's an empty cup waiting to be filled. It was filled, and it's filled with a couple questions, right?
All right.
In this episode, we kind of caught in media race, right? Stuff's going on. We get SG-1 coming back in with Daniel dead.
Yes.
We're counting stuff, right?
Yep.
Daniel dead. There we go.
We got a Daniel death.
And so early on, it's like, oh, so is this going to be Stargate SG-1's PTSD episode?
Okay.
You know, so every sci-fi series has that episode.
Yep.
To varying levels of success, right? Yep. I can't think of a good one off the top of my head right now, even after watching this, by the way.
Yep.
I can think of some bad ones.
Such as?
The Long Dark in the second season of Babylon 5.
Oh,
this
might be the worst episode of the entire season, of the entire series. I just turned off like half the viewers saying
I know, right? It's a real touchy subject still. But no, so I'm thinking this is going to be the PTSD episode, and it kind of was.
Yeah.
And it kind of wasn't done well.
Right.
But they had sci-fi reasons for why it wasn't done well. Right. So basically Daniel gets abducted by this alien dude. At the literal last 2 minutes of the episode, we find out his name is Nem.
Right.
And Nem implants this memory into Sam, Jack, and Teal'c that Daniel died horrifically.
Right.
So the situation, I don't know. So there's a lot of water. They're wet when they come through. They look like they've been slimed, ectoplasm. but it was just water.
Right.
Don't they send probes through first? Like, isn't that
they're supposed to?
Yeah. Like,
yeah, it's in the Malps through.
Yeah.
Malps.
Malps.
MALP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Malps.
Because I don't know. I had a real hang up early on in this where I'm just like, Jack's like, you can't go back through. It's too unstable. It's too unsafe. I'm like, you should have known everything about, like, shouldn't that have been the first clue?
Yeah.
That, like, hey, we sent them out through. Things were okay.
Shh. Stop with the plot holes.
It bothered me through so much of the episode. I'm just like,
I gotta be honest, as many times as I've seen this episode, I've never once actually considered that. And you're 1,000% right.
Right. It's like, so I feel like that should have been the first clue. Like, one, they're having weird responses that aren't commensurate. You know, like even the Dr. Fraser's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of normal stuff, but like, I don't know. It seems to be not right. It should have been like, hey, the probe said stuff was cool. It wasn't cool. So hang up there. We talked about it during the episode itself, but they did a funeral for Daniel.
Yeah.
And one of the first times ever in a sci-fi episode, like, they did it right.
Yeah.
They folded the flag right. They did the handoff right.
Yeah.
The salutes were done correctly. Really well done. I like that a lot. In fact, that might be my favorite moment in the episode.
Sure. You have a lot of notes on this episode.
You know, I have a lot of notes, but after the end of it, most of them are just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. So we think Daniel's dead, and people are having a hard time, right? There's trauma, there's stuff. And Tilk makes the comment after the funeral, he doesn't understand the funeral.
Right.
And he makes the comment that on Chulak, when you die, you fast for 3 days and nights. So it's kind of cool. Also, super in line with how the Minbari grieve people as well. We're just literally comparing everything to Babylon 5 and Star Trek in this one because we suspended our games.
Yeah, because I mean, we just as we record this, we just recently saw Delenn dealing with the fallout of Sheridan being dead, or at least thinking he was dead.
Yeah,
and she was like for like a week.
Yeah,
like Lanier went to Dr. Franklin and was like, "Hey, dude, like this is bad.
We got to get her to eat."
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of a cool little. In fact, these probably aired around the same time. This was because we're in '97.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I don't know what part of the year we'd been at the beginning of the season. Yeah, this might have been
right around the exact same time.
Yeah, this might have been.
So Nem, he's looking for the story of his mate Amaroka, who died in Babylon 4,000 years ago. Blah blah blah. Finds out that a Gould came and killed her. So. Before we gate into the rest of this episode, did you know you're missing most of the content from this podcast? Stargate SG-1 for the first time has an active and exciting Patreon that you can join right now by clicking the link in the show notes. Not only will you get access to the full, unedited podcast and reaction videos, you'll also be able to join a growing, vibrant, maybe even an intergalactic community. Subscribers even get access to all of our content from Babylon 5 for the first time. Don't miss out on this content and the amazing people. Just click the link in the show notes. Tilk thinks you should do it right now.
Indeed.
Dude, I'm sorry. How great of a year was 1997 for sci-fi TV? Think about it. You're getting like season 5 Deep Space Nine. Season 4 Babylon 5, which nobody really watched except for like you cool folks out there.
Right. But so far,
amazing season. We're like what, 6-7 episodes in. Amazing season. Anyway,
had this long stretch, but so much great TV.
Right.
SG-1.
SG-1 is getting started. Voyager. Now I like Voyager. I know a lot of people don't. I like Voyager. Voyager would have been like season 3. Right. So kind of getting right around there.
Yeah, I think we're 2 or 3.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just, man, the quality of television at that point.
So I think it was last week I started identifying this pattern specifically with Daniel, where he gets in these situations where he has a thing he wants and then he has to give it up to save someone or everyone.
Right.
We kind of got that in this one.
Yeah.
So Nem has him captured and he's trying to figure out the story. He knows that Daniel knows. Somehow he knows that Daniel knows what happened to Amaroka, and he's trying to get him to spill the beans. He can't remember.
Yeah.
And so he does some math, and he's like, you implanted a memory in my team, can't you extract the memory for me? He's like, yeah, but it will hurt you a lot. Fine. Better than just sitting here the whole time.
Right.
So this wasn't like he gained something new, but it was him. And he's like, well, to make this end, I'll sacrifice my brain. So I just noting like the pattern of Daniel pretty much always having to give up something that's super important to him.
I've never thought about that. I mean, I have over the last couple of weeks, but yeah, that is a legit theme that happens.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it's just, coincidence or if it pops up in any way and something I'll be watching for.
Yeah.
All in all, I mean, this had some really high moments, high points for General Hammond. He was great.
Yeah.
We talked about it during the episode, but after the funeral, they did a clearly mid-90s reception. And Jack was having a hard time.
Yeah.
And Hammond just stepped in. He was so great. He had tremendous compassion. He immediately was there to take care of Jack.
Yeah.
But he also kept moving things gently forward, right? He's like, hey, I understand. This is what's going on. I can't let you retire like you're talking about. Need you around. In fact, I need this thing from you. Need you to clean out his apartment. That'd be great. I just thought it was really well done. Hammond's really shown himself to be like, it's awesome.
Sometimes when one of your teammates, one of the people that are your subordinates, I guess. Give me a better word.
You can say that. Just team. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Coworkers, your team members.
When they go through something as a sports coach, if you have a player who's been in a slump, you've got to find a way to give them a win.
Yeah.
Whether it's a win in a game, whether it's a moral victory, whether whatever else happened, they hit a home run or what they need a win, something positive that is happening to them. You've got to find that way. And for Hammond to sit here and go, I'm not going to let you retire, but I can go let you kind of do this menial thing, but it's not menial at all.
Yeah. Super important.
And you can at least get that and check that off. And that's a positive. You were able to do something. So yeah.
I think there's we started to get into it a little bit during the episode, but Hammond was really keen on getting them back to work.
Yeah.
And he was talking to Dr. Fraser. She had nothing. She's like, hell no. Right. They need time. This is the late 90s. We were getting a better grasp on PTSD at that point, especially after the Desert Shield and the early Gulf War stuff in the early 90s. But we still didn't quite have it figured out. And I think there was still this really strong feeling. You said it there, like in Top Gun, they talked about it. Where it's like, just get back on the horse, just keep going. I really kind of appreciated, they didn't dive into it at all, but it was Hammond's like, let's get him back to work. Fraser's like, no, that's not what's good for him. Okay, I'll follow your lead. I think it was that moment. Like, I feel like it matches the time and the tipping point. How we started to
celebrate the step, even if it's not all the way where it should be.
Exactly. Yeah. Progress is progress, and that's fantastic. Final thought on this. I think it was a really cool idea for an episode. It just didn't hit for me. It just the plot, and maybe I'm just being pedantic here, but like the plot holes were huge. I'm frankly a little mad that we had to wait to the last 2 minutes to know dude's name. And how does he even know dude's name? It just, I don't know. But decent idea. It's just not so great in the execution. Those are my for the first time reactions to this one. What kind of sci-fi messages did you find in this?
Well, I'll give you my 47th time reaction. I've seen this episode a lot. It's not anywhere close to a favorite.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't offend me. It doesn't piss me off and make me mad. But it's an episode. This is an episode that if I'm flipping through the channels and I come across this episode, oh, look, Stargate SG-1's on. Oh yeah, it's this episode. Let me see what else is on.
Yeah.
It's that kind of an episode for me. It's not, honestly, sitting here watching it with you might have been the most enjoyment I've ever had watching this episode. But we were making fun of it the whole time.
We were. And we were talking about Star Trek and Babylon 5.
Right.
Pretty much the whole time.
Right. So that being said, I did watch it for the first time, looking for those sci-fi messages. And I mean, there's one that's just glaring. It's all the way through this episode. It feels very Star Trek to me.
Yeah.
Which is simply, there was an issue. All right. You got to take the Sam, Colonel O'Neill and Teal'c stuff and set that over to the side. You can find some things there, but that's not what the episode was about. Really what the episode was about, the core of it was Daniel communicating with Nim.
Yeah.
and Nim being very adversarial to the point at the end that they leave friends. Start off as enemies, leave friends. And how did they do it?
They talked. They communicated.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is that if you do what you have to find a way to begin communicating and begin talking, then you can move forward. They didn't have to fight. They didn't have to go to guns. They didn't have to resort to any of that. They found a way to get two people in a room talking, and they found a point of commonality. One person helped the other person
at great expense. And it created, I don't know if we could say that Nim is now an ally of theirs, but if they ever need anything that they think he could help with, they could come back and ask for a favor.
Yeah. And feel comfortable doing so, because they're not going to get blasted and sit back to whatever.
Exactly.
I am going to give this episode though, a fair criticism. And this one is for all of you out there who watch Babylon 5. And I know I've already referenced it, but I'm going to reference it again. The late delivery from Avalon episode. One of my absolute chief complaints about why I hated that episode, it bugged me to no end, was that the character that Michael York played could go through that, and just this simple act. I get the metaphor, Jeff. I understand the metaphor, but bringing it into reality of what they're expecting me to believe, of what the show is asking me to suspend disbelief for, that by giving this sword away to Delenn, that all of a sudden, all of his trauma and PTSD is just gone.
It's gone. Just fixed.
And maybe it's not all gone, but I assure you, doctor, I'm perfectly fine. And he's going to go off and join the Narn and be one of their special captains or whatever, and we never hear from him again. You cannot tell me that Jack and Sam and Teal'c going through what we just saw for 40 minutes, walking to the edge of this, all of a sudden Daniel jumps out of the water like he's Ariel crusting on a rock, throwing his hair back, because man, has he got some hair.
It's great. So good.
Right? And he goes, don't shoot, it's my friend. I mean, this man looks like Chunk throwing himself in front of Sloth at the end of Goonies. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, don't shoot. And all, they're like, oh, okay,
we're good.
So we're good. And then they like walk off, and you have the ADR at the end of them just having little jokes about the apartment and stuff like that. And now we're fine. Like, come on, guys.
I want to be fair to Babylon 5 though. That's not just them, right? Let's look at Deep Space Nine and Chief O'Brien. He spends a lifetime in prison and murders his cellmate, comes back, goes through some stuff, end of the thing, he's fine. Geordi LaForge gets his mind taken over by Romulans, and he goes through and sets stuff up. Talks to Counselor Troy one time, and then he's fine.
Right.
Captain Picard lives an entire, this isn't just a Babylon 5. It's not just a Stargate thing. It's sci-fi trying to address trauma, but not knowing how.
And having to do it in 45 minutes and wrap it up and move on.
Yeah.
Like, I understand and appreciate that, but it was such a sticking point for me with Avalon that I can no longer see it in an episode like this, understanding what's going on and still not call it out as being gross, because it just, like, I get it. Okay, fine, whatever. You're being too picky. I can do all that, but it just bugs me.
So the real magic of Avalon, King Arthur, is that it ruined a whole bunch of sci-fi for you.
That's how awful that episode was. I'm going to go back and retract my No, I still think Long Dark was worse.
Like, there's real ripples from
I had moral objections to Long Dark.
Okay, yeah.
I just had creative choice objections to Avalon.
So this isn't a Babylon 5 podcast.
It's true. It's true.
This is a For the First Time podcast.
It is.
And one of our hallmarks in For the First Time is rating things.
Yes.
You get to rate this, my friend, on a scale of 0 to 5 chevrons. Where are we at with this message?
Yeah. Well, so just to remind folks, this is a rating of how strong the message is. It literally was the entire, it's not even A plot, B plot, just the entire Daniel plot, right? Like that's
the whole thing.
That is the whole thing. I think it's a super strong message to go through. I'm going to give this one 4 chevrons.
4 chevrons.
Yeah.
So I'm going to push back a little bit.
Okay.
I agree the message was very strong and the outcome was great. What we didn't see was the bridge. We saw Nem being super adversarial and Daniel freaking out. I just want to help. Just tell me what you need, whatever. To then all of a sudden Daniel willing to sacrifice his brain and his memories for everything, and then everything's great. Like, we didn't see the moment where one of them reached out and tried to understand the other. We didn't see the work that had to happen.
I would disagree with that.
Really?
We watched, now maybe this is me having seen it so many times and you not. We watched Nem. Nem was the one who learned Daniel's language.
Okay.
Not vice versa. Nem was the one who was I think watching the show, knowing what I know about it, all of that stuff at the beginning with Nem was not him. I know I said adversarial. That's not really what it was. It was, he was frustrated.
Yeah.
Right. Like he was as frustrated trying to communicate with Daniel, but he's also so emotional. He's just emotionally charged that I'm going to light beam hand you and all that sort of stuff. Right. But he knew he had, like, I'm going to give you food. I'm going to give you rest. I've got to do something to help draw this out. But there's just, this man's been bottling up these emotions for 4,000 years.
Yeah.
Like, but he's trying to reach out, and Daniel is trying to come back. Like, oh, you just said words in my language. Wait, I can talk to you now. And then they try to do this thing back and forth. However, I would say there's a reason it wasn't 5 chevrons.
Okay.
Because, you know what I mean? Like,
it's
why I didn't go all the way with 5. I do think it was really strong. I think it was there. Could you argue 3 or 3.5? Probably. Is it there? I think I'm going to stick with 4.
Okay. Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I can totally live with 4. I just kind of wanted to pose that.
I will say there is another episode coming up later that it's going to be the same discussion, only it's going to do it phenomenally better.
Okay.
We'll talk about that when we get there in a couple seasons.
Yeah, I think
you're going to love that episode.
Ultimately, I would say on this one, I think that they could have taken 3 minutes out of the Sam Jack Teal'c story, added it to this, and just built that bridge up a little stronger. But
don't forget, this is a Catherine Powers written episode.
Right, there is that. So really, this is all 6
Catherine,
chevrons.
I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to make fun of you. Code of Honor and Emancipation were really bad, and you're going to catch it because of that.
I mean, you got some good stuff, but you're digging yourself out of a hole.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, Jeff. Well, I do a rating based on the message, but Jeff, you get to do the side that's just the pure, how good was the episode? And you're going to do that by ranking this episode in our definitive 100% completely accurate, immutable, set in stone-ish, might be talcum stone,
right?
But
limestone,
right? Something. But our current top 5. Actually, I'm not even going to do this because I'm going to guess this is going to be in the bottom. I'm going to do our current bottom 5.
I like that.
All right. We're currently at 11 episodes. So our current bottom 5 are going to be number 7, Children of the Gods. Number 8, Thor's Hammer. God, what a couple great episodes to top the bottom 5. The Enemy Within, number 9. That was Ferretti dealing with the larval Goa'uld. The First Commandment, Sam's old boyfriend. And then the other Catherine Powers episode, Emancipation, down at the bottom. Where do you, if you need me to read the others, I will, but I'm just going to guess you're going to be in this range. Where are you going to place Fire and Water?
You made the right choice on where to hit this. And you said a thing as you were going down that really resonates with where I'm looking. And that was, God, what a great episode, Thor's Hammer.
Yeah.
Right? It really was a good episode. Children of the Gods, amazing episode.
Yeah.
And they're like in the bottom 5.
Yeah.
That's criminal. It's criminal they're in the bottom 5. They're that good.
That just speaks to how good a season 1 has been so far, though.
Right? It's been amazing. It's been so great. So the question is, above or below The Enemy Within? And The Enemy Within, right, it was Ferretti. It was the first just regular episode of the series, and it definitely was rough. It had that really cool death scene for Ferretti that was pretty awesome.
Where they took off the back of his head.
Yeah, that was hardcore. But like I said in my first thing, this is a really cool idea for a story. It wasn't well executed, but it wasn't criminally executed by any means. You said, you're like, oh, Stargate's on. Oh, it's this episode. Maybe I'll see what else is on.
Yeah. Let me add to that. Oh, let me see what else is on. And if nothing else is on, I'm happy to come back to
That's
this
exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to skip this episode right away.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for other options, but I'll still watch this episode. This
When
is
those other options go to commercial, I'll come back to this one.
exactly. Yeah, see what's going on. This is going to be our new number 9 right
Okay.
below Thor's hammer.
All right. Very good. Fire and Water. All right, Jeff. Well, that is going to do it for us for this episode, Fire and Water.
Yeah.
Would you like to know what we're watching next?
Let's see what it is. Let's hear
This
it.
is an episode. I don't know if you're going to know what this is. It's possibly something you have heard before, but I'm not sure. The name of the episode is Hathor.
Hathor?
Hathor. Would you care to venture a guess as to what Hathor is going to be about?
I've never heard that before.
No, never.
I'm gonna guess. Well, maybe I haven't. I'm just not. Maybe I need someone to extract the memory.
I was going to say,
from my brain.
this actually feels very much like I'm sure you have, and it's in there. We just need you to go into the machine and
Amaroka.
Yeah.
Amaroka. I'm thinking like it conjures Beowulf vibes for me.
okay.
I'm probably way off. I don't know. Star Trek did a Beowulf. Voyager did.
They did, yeah. Yeah.
I think this is going to be Stargate's Beowulf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm going to go with for this one.
Boy, you're a good guesser.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we will see next time right here on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Hey, listen, don't forget to subscribe wherever you are catching us, whether it's on YouTube or on your audio podcast of choice. And wherever you are, please make sure to like, share, leave a rating and review for us right here. And please share this podcast with someone that you know who loves Stargate SG-1, or maybe somebody who, like my friend Jeff here, needs to discover it for the very first time. So with that being said, until next time, we're going to find out just how good
Brent.
Jeff.
This is a lot of fun doing this, but I'm kind of starving. Do you want to go get some sushi at that place down the street?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.